Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WGLEU Season 2 for 2015 and 2016. Game 3 is just around the corner. Our last one of the night, and if the last two we saw were anything to go by, Oliver, this one is sure to be another cracker.
Yeah, I mean, Rusty Roster, completely new team to the Gold Series. They were, of course, known as Retard Room beforehand. Obviously, had to change their name going into the Gold Series, but they're still a strong team. They'll be going up against DiNG, a well-known team from Season 1. Didn't perform too well in the last season. Actually went into relegation games, managed to fight their way out of that one. But yeah, I think they underperformed at the beginning and they never recovered from it. Yeah,
you know, DiNG, a lot of high expectations sort of accompanying them as they came into this. And of course, Rusty Roster having made their way through, of course, relegations. Now they didn't, they had to play through the lower bracket to make it through. They weren't the top team from our relegations, but they definitely still took out some of those teams that we now see being relegated from last season. So definitely some potential there, definitely some ability. Another Polish lineup, from what I understand, or at least mostly so. Definitely gave us some interesting strategies back in 754 and 768 now, of course. We await with a lot of interest to see what these teams will be pulling out here. Of course, these guys, you know, DiNG were in some ways the giant killers last season. We saw them take big games over big teams. Virtus Pro comes to mind as one of the Goliaths that they did manage to fell. But unfortunately, as you said, consistency was a problem for them. It plagued them deeply, losing games against teams that, you know, maybe that they shouldn't have been losing against. The lineup is very, very strong, of course, you know, with some big players in the mix there. So, I don't know. We have to wait and see now how things change here. Of course, Holknick, who is someone who stood out to me as well as obviously one of their Czech inclusions, was quite vocal about his team. He definitely felt like they could have achieved more than they actually did. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. But they're still here in Season 2. So I'll be interested to see now what they can bring for us.
Yeah, and they got a couple of changes. Rulzek, a player from the Russian scene, joining us as well. International 64, extremely old school player. Has been around for a long time. He was an artillery player for Red Gra. He's been through quite a few teams and a very, very, very solid player indeed. Kind of surprised, you know, he's made his way through so many teams because I think he's pretty solid. So I think they've kind of bolstered their lineup a little bit here, DiNG. You know, as a team that's gone, you know, as you mentioned, very well against some of the stronger teams and like lost against ASAP 5-0. You know, they need to be performing right here from day one. They need to be taking down these inexperienced newer teams right from the get-go. Otherwise, they're going to potentially start sliding again. Yeah,
so starting strong definitely is an important thing for DiNG to be getting on. And of course, Rusty Roster, I mean, they have to prove themselves, I guess, but there's not too much face to lose here, even dropping game to DiNG at the early stages here. They're coming in fresh, they're coming in new. We don't have any expectations really of them already, which is kind of refreshing for a team to come in. They can just sort of go with a clean slate and show us exactly what they've got here. Yep. So these two teams now, we are going head-to-head soon, of course, and we'll be starting off with a little bit of a different map when things do finally kick off here. I would like to know, though, Melly, of course, is voting will be opening very, very soon. Again, I said it when I was at the Grand Finals in Warsaw. I said, I really feel like Poland is one of the most prolific World of Tanks fans, capitals. Yep. So many people come into the events there as well. With a full Polish team here, I mean, surely they have to be filling up those votes for their favourites.
Well, we have 74% for DiNG and 26% for Rusty Roster. I love that name, by the way. That's what I was actually, I wanted to open with that. First of all, I really like that name. I don't know why Rusty Roster. Rusty Roster.
It's gonna trip us up, I think, a few times as casters.
That's pretty much why I like it.
Is that why you like it? Yeah, brilliant.
No, it's gonna be a good one. So people head over to Facebook, facebook.com/WGLEU, and get in your votes. It will, well, the voting itself will close after the 4th round. Okay. So be quick because the first 5 correct predictions will win bonus codes.
All right, obviously bonus codes, we're giving out 5 per match this time, which is obviously a little bit more than what we did last season. So great time to get involved and, you know, give us your prediction as well, because we like to know, by and large, what our viewers are thinking. We want to get in your heads a little bit. We want to get a little bit close to you guys. Maybe not a candlelit dinner or anything like that, but, well, you know, maybe. We'll keep it professional here as well. Maybe, it depends, you know. Yeah. Hit me up on Twitter. Shouts for
buy me a burrito. We'll see what happens.
Burrito.
Shop for 9 days. I mean, gutted right now.
I know. Our favourite burrito shop is closed for Christmas break. It's absolutely horrible. But yeah, do that, guys. Get involved in the conversation. Also on Twitter as well, is where you can reach all of us. And we, you know, we've had a habit of bringing up some stuff that people have brought in on stream as well. If there's some funny pictures or stuff like that. Last season there was a trend, of course, of us taking Oliver and sort of editing that in
putting into various pictures. swimming comes to mind, formation swimming, or whatever it was called. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to continue that trend, it was definitely enjoyable. We definitely enjoyed it. I mean, got a couple of those stuck up on the wall, so could add to the collection. Maybe just change it up with a bit of Melly, Lauren when she's back from her travels abroad, and even Mitch.
Well, I do want you guys to know as well, we have a board up in the office where some of your best submissions actually get printed out and stuck up there as well. We call it the wall of shame as well, keeping everyone humble as they walk through office, just so no one gets too big for their own boots there. But your submissions are greatly appreciated as well, or anything you want to show us. Even show us a photo. How are you watching the game tonight as well? I know a lot of our viewers like to show us this setup or exactly how they're enjoying some absolutely top shelf World of Tanks action. So many, many ways to interact with us as well, and we like to go back and read that stuff as well. We'll respond to you and that sort of thing. I mean, me and Oliver don't even have like 5K followers, so we'll see your stuff, of course. That's the trappings of being a wargaming or a World of Tanks caster. So we're going to see every little bit of it here. So, I mean, we've seen some city maps, we've seen some open maps here. DiNG used to favour the Himmelsdorf, and the Ruinberg. So no one really favoured Ruinberg. It was a kind of map here. Yeah. But last season they favoured cityscapes here, so I mean I expect them to be pretty strong here. What about you?
Yeah, I mean at the end of the day, this is the beginning of the format, so this is kind of breaking the meta in. You've only had a few weeks to train, 768 in general, so I think there's a lot of things going to change. But so far, I mean, it's not been too different in terms of tactics, so maybe not.
For the first time this season, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to dive headfirst into Ruinberg. Here we go now. Rusty Roster versus DiNG. And DiNG will be on the blue side. They'll be starting on the attacking side, working their way out from the city streets. And International, that's the name I remember quite well. Often paired up with Phoenix there in the old days. He'll be on that bat chat, moving straight towards a first bit of a scouting run. Yeah,
only for the scouting run. I mean, he's found quite a lot. The IS-7s, pretty much all hull down tanks. You got Panasir and Persista in the background. Persista, the main shot caller, the kind of team captain there for Rusty Roster. But yeah, as you mentioned, so many players we've seen before. Polterate from Evil, Panasir we saw last season as well. Sozgzek, seen around the World of Tanks scene since pretty much the beginning. So a lot of old school players, a lot of players that can perform at a high level if requested to do so, but still inexperienced compared to DiNG as a pretty similar setup as we see in Sim 54. Getting those tanks in the middle, got the zero line also under control, and I have to see, Ruinberg it's such an interesting map in a lot of respects, but I think we saw a little bit too much of it in 754 in Season 1. Things can change around.
Absolutely. And the looks of things in Rusty Roster, actually, something we don't often see now from a defensive side is that they have committed these sort of tanks towards the city, actually quite deep here. Sometimes, this going towards this E-line, not so uncommon here for Figo, a team that's trying to shake out any sort of attackers, but with 3 tanks in the middle of the city, the rest sort of towards the eastern side. And artillery as well, which I feel like we didn't point out. Meritorious is on an M53-55. And International as well. He is just going to be the loose end at the moment here for DiNG. Looking for engagements, knowing that he can take pretty much any tank he wants head on head. He's going to find Socek actually behind the fountain there as well. Nice. 1 shot, 2 shots towards him now, and that is really going to cripple that tank now. He can even go for a third, and Socek is in deep trouble, out in no man's land, up against a tank far bigger than his own. Yeah,
perfect little play there from International. That guy doesn't miss a single shell. And great pick-off. Rusty Roster already losing a pretty crucial tank. I mean, not a massive blow, but they are losing HP, they're losing tanks. And DiNG is, finding angles onto Rusty Roster, and there's no reply so far. And, that 140 in the background probably was trying to support the 215, but just RU215. God, I can't even say a tank anymore. So rusty. Like Rusty Roster. But, I mean, artillery also trying to make some work there. Meritorious in the background. Kind of surprised that he's not playing a bigger tank, like a real damage dealer, because he was so prominent in previous seasons with previous lineups, even Kazakru, for instance. But, he might be able to connect a few here.
I always liked Meritorious in an IS-3. It was always good to watch. This time he's on artillery duty. And he's going to hope to make his mark in more ways than one against Rusty Roster here, who honestly don't have to really make any big moves right now, and they're defaulting a little bit to a bit of a defensive style. What we've seen, and this is a bit of a generalization, but a lot of our Polish teams that we really enjoy watching do opt for that heavier lineup. They favour that more static play. They favour sticking together, working together off the back of that kind of things. But losing Socek here early on really hampers their flexibility. They can't go around too far. They do need to stick together, of course, and these tanks aren't super fast, not all of them anyway. Even the 140s aren't exactly speedsters if you compare them, I guess, against other faster tanks we've seen. So Rusty Roster don't really have any reason or inclination to move too far from their position, and it is up to DiNG, of course, to try and dig them out here, which is never an easy job on this map as well. I mean, Ruinberg last season was always such a 50-50. Defensive teams always had a big advantage on this one, but now what we've often seen as well is the attacking team putting two tanks on towards the cap. This is going to force a response from Rusty Roster. They're going to have to roll over the top here and actually stop them, or at least slow this one down a bit.
Yeah, but I mean, side shots from the two autoloaders, actually Hulknik now, I think International is actually rotating around, could actually get caught out very badly by the 50B and the 140 coming from north. But International gets a good early spot there, so you might be able to get into a good situation where the 50B and the Batchat can support each other, but the reset is coming in.
Lifford is actually taking a big hit from Meritorious, if I'm not mistaken. That one arced in quite nicely from the artillery piece. He's hurt quite badly, actually. He's a healthy tank, but not so much anymore now, as International has found some foes in the middle of the map, and he realises he's better off running away to fight another day. There's Diplomat, though. Gets the finish on Polswed. Lifford is forced to back up a little bit here. But the health points now actually swing in favour of Rusty Roster after that first little push, and this cap is still underway as well. So Rusty Roster are going to have to regroup, back up a bit, and go forward yet again to try and interrupt this.
Yeah, so again, this is Rusty Roster having to make all the plays. Obviously, Hulknik and International are no longer able to do the shot, so this could actually be a different kind of scenario, but Hulknik did so good work in the middle with the artillery.
Finally, we do see the reset come in there, and I think it was Rulzik actually took that hit. Prosto's very, very low, though. He's been the man that had to sort of hull over and get those shots in. He drops down, but now Basista going to be going over the top towards Rulzik. Diplomat around the back, though, crucial. 3 shells in his tank. One more will actually get the kill there as well. He's taking shots in from the middle of the map. It's a good little flex play from DiNG around towards those attacking tanks, and now the last defensive tanks left for Rusty Roster are sort of caught up in the cityscape a bit. They're being pinned down by Diplomat and Rakar. Is it Mr. Rakar? We had a whole chat about this. I think it's Rakar. Sorry, bro. We're going to get it right eventually. But there goes Rulzik. 3v3. DiNG have had to abandon any attempt at a capture here, and these health points are very close together.
Yeah, the thing is, DiNG is aware that Panasarian's coming from the side. Maybe not so aware that Panasarian was probably looking for artillery, but figure in the background as well, the 50B providing support, probably start Rakar and Diplomat from going forward to take down Lidus. And I mean, the Ice was in an ideal position with that tank. It's so durable from that position. It's pretty easy to penetrate if you're just straight on level. But if you have any kind of angle in it, especially from above, that armor is enough to bounce, and the turret's impossible to penetrate as well, unless you find the very top of it. So it's actually gone pretty well for Rusty Roster. They're still in this game. They're still very capable of actually winning this one. And the only problem for them is that DiNG is finding the cap again.
Yeah, Rakar is fairly healthy. So is Diplomat as well. So only with 2 mobile tanks to deal with. Do bear in mind that Meritorious is still on his own here, and he's had to pull himself back in towards that K8 position to avoid being picked off by Rusty Roster, who have a lot of control over that middle of the map. And they actually back off the cap as well. So just a little bit of a tickle here for DiNG. Having 10 minutes means that you do have more time to actually start kicking a cap up. Rakar is very much hoping that he's going to be able to get a pick in towards his middle road. And Lifford is aware of this. A little bit low on health. Going to back away and avoid getting picked off.
Yeah, obviously Rusty is a little bit worried that Diplomat will just be able to come charging in and take down Lidus or Figo, so they've all got themselves in a line where they can support each other. So, I mean, the only option is, of course, Meritorious in the M35, M53, M55.
RT expert.
Yeah, well, name expert, not, definitely. But, I mean, it's a great artillery piece, probably my favorite to play. Well, it's most capable of doing damage. The Lorraine is probably my favorite to play. It's an absolutely fantastic one. Very fast, very maneuverable, great firing arcs. You don't have to re-aim on Ruinberg at all, basically. But DiNG are running out of time. That's the biggest problem. I think if they find the angle, they can win this. But 2 minutes to do it might be a little bit too less.
What do you think about this rotation now? Splitting their forces, or with Diplomat going north, maybe for the cap in that Batchat?
I don't think he's going to go for the cap. I mean, Meritorious has basically got in a position where he can shoot Rusty Roster. he'll be the one to make the first engagement. Once the spots come out, the shell will come in, and then they might be able to get the advantage to take down the other two.
Well, the spots have been made here as Meritorious is just patiently waiting. He actually can't hit Lifidas from where he is. Mr. Rokar will get there eventually. He's forced to push around the corner there. Diplomat is fairly low in health, but Figo went down. Meritorious actually picked him off. Beautiful play and great use of that artillery piece there with 1 minute and 30. Panachin has to get the heck out of dodge, and he's got 3 tanks looking right at him. It's a big job for any one tank to do here, and I don't think Panachin is any exception to the rule, as good as he may be. It's just overwhelming odds for him to deal with now. He's hoping for a cheeky shot at Rokar as he does come across, and he does connect that one there as well. Every bit of point of damage does help.
I don't understand why he's not running. I mean, he can still win this one easily because the Batchats are still on reload. I guess, he was under no illusions that he can take down Rokar. He can take down Diplomat, no problems at all. And with 59 seconds, great engage by DiNG. But still, because they have that artillery piece, you don't have that third kind of angle which they can cross off to take this tank down.
And Panachin can essentially keep himself away from these guys for quite some time. 45 seconds left in this one. DiNG are looking for him. They must kill him. Meritorious is not going to be able to spot Panachin from here. He's not really a tank that's capable of doing that. So Panachin now heading back towards the north, and so far he's managed to completely elude those last 2 tanks from DiNG. A lot of pings going on towards the map here. I can hear the sounds as these teams are trying to just try and keep themselves alive. If you're Panachin, at least he's going to go towards Meritorious. So I don't really know if he knows he's in that position, but he's going to try and use his houses for a bit of cover and keep himself alive. And also, there's no cap opportunity here for DiNG now. They must kill Panachin, and he's giving them a wide berth.
I don't know why Meritorious is playing so scaredly. I mean, if you know you're going to either... he's actually turning his back, but he's not that stupid to go around this corner, surely, or he won't be in a position where he can get shot from A0. So this is going to be a wing, actually, for DiNG. But yeah, I mean, Meritorious, he should have played like a tank destroyer. He should have gone forwards and gone for the engage, because at the end of the day, you have nothing to lose in that situation. You load AP, and you just go for the engagement. And, you don't have great gun depression, but you certainly have a good chance of doing 1.5k damage or doing enough to take down that 140.
And bear in mind as well, the M53-55 isn't a one-shot to a 140.
Exactly.
It has a 430 health, I think.
450.
So, yeah, so he can almost trundle up there, accept the first shot, take ages to line up and perhaps get the kill there. So perhaps miscommunication coming out there for DiNG. But Rusty Roster, able to steal that first one away there. It's not exactly the most impressive display. They win that one, not with a roar, but with a bit of a whimper. They get away, but at least they held on. That's how you play defense in World of Tanks, so you really can't fault them for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, great stuff from them. They actually managed to hold on for such a draw. I think it seemed to be this slow lull where I think you could have seen DiNG push in, take down Lidus there in the IS-4, but instead they decided to wait and just wait basically for a position. Wait until Rusty just got into a defensive position. I think that's what happened at the end of the day. Meritorious did 1.9k damage in that artillery, so that's very respectable. Shockish in the I7 did 1.1, which is the lowest damage deal. And Diplomat from DiNG, the last man remaining, basically, in the Batchat, only 1.3k. But, he did 3 kills, so I guess that's what the autoload is for.
Absolutely. Does get the finishes there as well. And this is the first cap attempt, of course. You could see there, Prosto taking a lot of damage, and DiNG eventually finding out they didn't really have the time to make things work. It's funny now in this format, because when the smoke clears after these big fights, teams can often come out really, really even. And then, they're not super fast tanks all the time. They're not sort of your 1390s or your lightweights, and they're not your bulldogs. So to try and chase each other around the map now has very much a different meaning. And defensive teams, when they're down to that one tank, give them a couple minutes, and they actually do have a chance to actually win the game if they can avoid the enemy. Very strange moment there towards the end with Meritorious, as you said. I mean, it's maybe not instinctive for a lot of RD players. I don't know. I play a bit, but not a lot. But for RD players to go forwards and actually sort of take that one, it requires you to throw out your artillery player's paradigm out the window and actually go for a little bit of a different mindset. And sometimes in the heat of the battle, it becomes hard to depart from that, from what you know. But who knows? We can only speculate here, but Meritorious had the best shot at least getting that kill towards that last opponent.
Yeah, that's also what you have to do at the end of the day. If you have, you do what's most optimal at the time, and I think he should have been aggressive. I mean, that's not the reason why they lost necessarily, because you're just potentially not even going to one-shot that tank. But it looks like Mary's actually going to pick up a GV Tiger P, which is basically a one-shot wonder. If you hit, you're going to do great damage. If you don't hit, you're going to do basically nothing. And let's be honest here, the accuracy on that tank, on that artillery piece, when you have the bigger gun, the howitzer, is basically nil. But again, if you hit anything, you're going to be doing a lot of damage, potentially even one-shotting one of these. But looking at towards RR's lineup, a lot of IS-7s, and they're definitely not normal one-shot material for an artillery piece.
GW Tiger P. Never have we seen this tank before, I think, in our esports stuff as well. I mean, coming to tier 8, of course, as an artillery, it's a long thing, isn't it?
It's like a locomotive.
Well, it's on the Tiger P hull, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So
that's why it's so slow. I mean, the thing is, when this was first released, people were like, this is the thing. I mean, when that tank was first released, it was the best artillery piece in the game, basically, because there's no tier 10 artillery pieces. And, this was before the 10% accuracy nerf to artillery, which happened at some point. Can't remember what patch number. Before that was fantastic. But, again, might even be using AP ammo, because you're talking about a small map here, only 800 by 800 meters. So you don't have a long distance to shoot, not like 1,000 plus or, even 500 meters will be a long distance here on Ruinberg. So potential.
One of my favorite words, potential. You never know what you're going to get on this map, especially. So, excuse me, the defending team does get the win in that first round here. Let's see if that trend is bucked by Rusty Roster getting a second round in a row here. We do see Sochek out in front in the 2-5-1. He was lost very, very early on in the last map for Rusty Roster, but it didn't spell complete doom for them as he was able to recover from that. So, just see now what the next few moves here will be. Obviously, Rusty Roster now pushing out with a lot of IS-7s here. It's a very heavy core for their team here. They might just try and bully their way on towards this one. Shots coming on the move, none of them hitting towards Shockish, and Doric taking a little bit of a hit. But this is actually forcing a bit of a movement at the top as well.
But this is the time where Meritorious has to hit a shell. He was already moving way too late. He does actually land
artillery.
945 damage, not too bad from him. But that might be his only shell of the game.
Yeah, I mean, going to be a little bit hard now with all those buildings in the way. The 110E4 from International is being used here as well. I mean, not unlike the 110E3, but it has a rotating turret, and it definitely doesn't have it as sick of an armor profile. So
it's only got a limited rotation on the turret, though. So
still does the trick, though. But Sister's getting slapped around right now. He's going to drop down. Hulkney gets the finish on him. Doric's still just having that one little bit of health shaved off him, but these IS-7s, I can see the Rusty Roster wants to brawl, but they've already lost one of their frontliners.
Yeah, huge blow. I mean, they're sent in Basista first in the IS-7, basically, or at least in a vulnerable position, which is the worst thing you can do, and Doric just takes advantage of an age-old trick, the small crack between those two buildings, which has been around forever, and surprisingly, Marakar actually falls victim to that. Or maybe he was actually trying to get the shot
first. He did take the shot first. He tracked him.
Yeah, so fair enough. Yeah, he was trying to take advantage of that. But Ruleslick in the background, that 263. Not the most durable tank in the world, in my opinion, especially against this higher penetration ammo, but the highest DPM tank in the game. It can really start bringing the pain if you don't be careful.
Sochek caught as he crossed now, going very, very low. In fact, he does get picked up there. Diplomat with the finish. The 62A being brought out here for the first time this evening instead of the 140. Panachin, big mistake crossing there as well. I'm not sure if that shot from Meritorious actually connected with him, but you saw his health just completely melt away.
Yeah, but Panachin now down to a one-shot in the IS-3, but I think it was probably worth it to get the exchange. Maybe not, actually. I mean, DiNG's so far ahead in terms of HP, and they've got the artillery piece as well.
Shock is similarly low here, trying to push out, and he's actually being harassed constantly by that 50B of Figo, so he has to back away. He can't join his team here. He's pinned down, but that's not too bad because there's plenty of DiNG players in the vicinity. And Doric, a big hit coming in for the 110E4. What a beast of a tank when he can bring its gun to bear. Prosto is also low. Lipidus is low. And the rest of DiNG now want to push forward. Defense definitely favoured on this map by the looks of things now, as Diplomat's getting involved with that 62A. Probably my favourite tank in the entire game. Figo now wants to go for the finish on towards Shockish as he does see the rest of his team go up in flames. He knows he needs to act quickly, but Figo, he's going to get double tapped and think, or maybe a big shot from Meritorious. I'm not sure as he came through. Diplomat again gets the finish off, and it's just Lipidus with 275 points of health.
Yeah, the most one-sided match we've seen today by far. I mean, 6.4k HP still in favor for DiNG, and yeah, I mean, from the beginning, when he had Meritorious hit that shell, 945 damage, not necessarily particularly crucial, but Basista went into a position where he could get taken down by, first of all, that T110E4, and the 50B as well peeked around the corner, took him down. And at that point, it just went from bad to worse. You had Meritorious hit a couple more shells. He actually did 2.3k damage, just behind International from DiNG, who did 3,100 damage in that E4. I mean, I I think any tank in this position could have potentially done a lot as well. But the fact that he could just peek around these corners and make it work for him was fantastic. And then when you saw Rulesek there in the 2-6-3 push around the corner, then you knew it was game over, because, you know, in a 2-6-3, it's so awkward to play around corners. You know it's game over.
I mean, I'm not going to lie. That was really impressive from Meritorious. We had our doubts about the Tiger P coming into this one. 2 direct hits with 2 penetrations, and he even splashed a bit of damage across there. So 2 hits, 1 splash hit for 2,300. Yeah. That's a lot. That's definitely... I feel like he's justified himself in taking up the tier 8 slot with that Tiger P in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, as again, you're not having to shoot particularly far. I guess the problem isn't... Because he's not shooting far, accuracy is not necessarily the problem, because you have such big splash damage. The problem with that tank would be the fact that you kind of have a situation where you have such a small firing angle. You know, you only have a very small degree that you have to have these corridors where you can shoot, and you know they'll be. So you got the corridor along that middle road, which you saw Mary was aiming at, and then you had the corridor when Rusty Roster pushed in. So, you know, he didn't have to move his tank too much and reset his aim, which is of course very catastrophic for a GVP. And
it works out. Excuse me, it works out very well for him, because at that point Rusty Roster had to come forward. They couldn't use the buildings to exploit, I guess, the arc of that GW Tiger P coming in, because they had to go forward and create for themselves an opportunity which they'd already squandered, taking so much damage to even get towards the fight there. So I don't know. I mean, with tier 10s in the mix here, Ruinberg seems like a very treacherous map. Yeah. Seems like those defensive teams definitely seem to be...
It's good to see artillery back in, because, I mean, Ruinberg, when it was first released into the map, Paul had a lot of artillery, and we had the Hummel and the GV Panthers, the Lorraines and stuff like that. So I think with these heavier lineups where it's not so much about just charging in and YOLOing, yeah, it's good to see artillery, you know, getting an advantage and playing the smarter card, I guess.
Well, map 1 is already done. Both these teams going 1 apiece after that one. Defensive size seeming to reign supreme. But if you had to compare the two, if you had to put them side by side, it definitely looked like DiNG had very, very good control there. We're seeing a myriad of different picks here already tonight in terms of this new format. It seems to have opened things up in a big way. Players still getting a feel for what they feel is the optimal tanks, and it seems like every team has their own take on that particular theme here, which is great. So many different things. I mean, there's 62A being picked up there as well instead of the 140. But now let's see what both of these teams have to show us on the map of Ghost Town. Rusty Roster are going to be attacking this time on the red side. DiNG on blue, defending out here, and it's big, bulky, heavy lineups for both teams.
Kind of surprised we're not seeing any weapon target E100 yet. Obviously, I guess they're worried about the HE use against it. Obviously, you can penetrate the turret, and that'll be a problem for that tank. But yeah, big, bulky, heavy tanks, just like we saw in the first match. And yeah, I think as it was last time, who can maneuver better in the slower tanks? I think that's what it might come down to. But clearly, DiNG have gone for that higher DPM, which worked out well for KB last time.
Here's E100s coming forward. Even that 5100 in the mix there for Socek. See if that 105 can actually... Some penetrations there, of course. We've already moved on towards the Cappy with 3 E100s.
Yeah, 264 penetration, the 5100. I mean, you can penetrate it to 10 from the front.
Yep. No, you can. It's actually 100mm, of course. Yeah. At 110 E5, and of course some Ricard and Meritorious are making their way around the corner as well. So this is going to be interesting to see who gets the most bounces, who can shrug off most of this damage. There's a good little flank there by Meritorious, and some damage already being given over towards Liffidus. Panachin takes a shot as well. This cap is well and truly underway, but being reset just as we say it. Liffidus getting absolutely nuked there, only down to maybe 1 shot from a big roll at least. And there's Figo finishing off International. So 57 heavy being used in the mix of the American tier 10 heavy auto-loading tank. Nice to see that one thrown in here. So far, these two teams trading back and forth. Liffidus down for one, International down for the other one. Shokish might be a little bit caught here. Maybe that's understating it.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 E100s though are going to have to focus on. They do take him down, and that's allowed a little bit of damage to go towards those 5100, but 4 versus 4 right now in the middle. Holdnik having a little bit of a chuckle around the side, actually not doing too well against Shojtek. but I'm not sure. I think this is pretty close, and if those 5100s decide to go for it, they can find one of these tier 10s very quickly.
Note how heavily these E100s are angling as they make their way around the corner. That's some big damage being done. Panache takes down Ricard there. Figo trying to just chip in here with a T57 Heavy, get some of that burst damage across the line. And Rulesik is a one-shot. He's low, but he's still in it. Diplomat, though, also took that last hit from Figo, who just has to get the heck out now and get that reload fairly quick as far as autoloaders are concerned, but Basista now as well. He's in the mix. Meritorious is forced to push on through. Rusty roster not looking too shabby at all, if I must say so. They've got plenty of tanks, only 3 left for DiNG here, and they might just fall at the last hurdle.
Yeah, DiNG looking really cautious like they did in the first round on Ruinberg. They had an early advantage, but just like we saw in the first game, if you don't push that early advantage, then the other team on Ghost Town is just going to come around from a different angle and decide to push their advantage. So yeah, I think bad coordination here from DiNG has given Rusty Roster this win.
Absolutely. Hulknick now, last man standing with the 50B, and he's not even loaded yet as well, so that will take a bit of time. Figo has the one shot to send his way. Oh, he's loaded, sorry, just now. Figo now has to back off as well, otherwise he'll be falling victim to that autoloader. All the track on Figo, not quite enough. And there's Polswed round in the corner, does take down that 50B. And there it is, 2-1 there. Rusty Roster looks like they're pretty comfortable playing these heavy lineups. They're very comfortable playing in this sort of cityscape environment. A lot of E100s there. Was that the difference? You talked about higher DPM maybe over towards DiNG here, but it didn't seem like it was enough.
I think it was more of a situation where, you had Shockish there in the IS-4, and Rusty Roster had the option with the 3 E100s to push on that IS-4 and secure that kill, or stay where they were and just use a hold down of those E100s. They had another tank over towards the left, can't exactly remember who it was. And they decided to go for that last option, which definitely was right, because Figo then came behind in that T57 and just pounded so many shells into the back, managed to find one of those tanks basically. He did almost 4k damage in that round. So, again, that thing where there's 2 T110 E5s went around, good damage onto Rusty Roster at the beginning, onto the back of the IS-7s, but those T110s were behind, which allowed Rusty Roster to push forwards, and then you had the situation where you actually ended up losing more than you gained with the early aggression.
I mean, you commit so many resources to a flank, and it really just promoted Rusty Roster to just push forward in towards the weaker lineup, I guess, of DiNG, or the weaker numbers at least that they had. You see Mrakar here, Meritorious and Rulesik are all there. They're just pumping shots in towards Lifidus here, but you can see now this has caused Rusty Roster just to move, just to go forward. Those E100s now, so hard to deal with. When there's 3 coming towards you, you know you're in big trouble. And Shockish got caught out pretty much straight away by these guys, and they were able to round the corner with those big health pools, good amount of armor, managed to clean up the rest of DiNG.
Yeah, and International has already fallen at 251. Shojek's still alive in the 5100 and does remain alive for quite a long time. So this is already 2 tanks gone down. And, I mean, Hulknick, as soon as he has to go and reload, that's a very easy situation for Figo to go around and figure out. So, yeah, good angling, good decision-making. And again, this problem with DiNG where they're just not quite quick enough to the punch, and they don't go for those situations straight away. A little bit hesitant in these early aggressive positions.
Definitely does look that way, and Ghost Town is such a funny map as well. Because you're not fast in these big heavy tanks as well, you can't make real changes to your setup. You're kind of committed. So the team that comes up with the most artful flank, or at least manages to get an overmatch early on in the piece and just get an advantage, does seem to be the team that can take things away here. There are a lot of corners to go around here. You never want to have to reverse in one of these, in these 110 E5s or even, of course, in these E100s. It's just not a good idea at all for you to do that. So I don't know. I really don't know. These flanking tanks, these autoloaders coming in as well, seem to make their impact. But, very very on a map like this, the flankers can quickly become the flankies.
Exactly. That's how it goes. You're playing around a middle area where when you're playing these heavier tanks, it definitely matters how fast you're going to go. When it's not about how fast a tank goes in a straight line on no gradient. It's how fast it can go uphill, and that's where your horsepower per turn ratio makes a big difference. But restarts coming in as Rusty Roster didn't ready up their 7th player, so they went in with 6 on this one. So we'll be getting this on the way very quickly for our second round here on Ghost Town. And I'm really liking these map switches. Like, we would still be on Ruinberg right now. It's fantastic to be on Ghost Town.
Yeah, that's right. It was straight through that one, got it out of the way, and we've...
Straight away, get out of the way. I mean, it's great. I mean, we should have had this in 754. It's brilliant.
You're loving life, aren't you? There? Sitting there rubbing your hands together like
There's
a little
no
treasure goblin.
everyone has their maps they like and they dislike, and I didn't like Ruinberg.
Well, it didn't really give us too much diversity, I think, in strategy. However, we'd be interested to see how that changes as the season goes, because it did change a lot last season in the way teams played it. Maybe in the wrong direction, perhaps, but...
Well, it's just if you change the map pool and you change the map pool completely, the teams are going to go with the maps they know, which was Ruinberg and Himmelsdorf, which they obviously did. It was the most map played. Now we're back to a situation where the teams have, in Season 5 and other seasons, they've practiced Prokhorovka, they've practiced Muravanka, they've practiced Cliff, for the grand finals for Season 5, etc., etc. So, they've got some maps they can fall back on, maps they've played in Clan Wars, maps they've played in, other competitive Tier 10 tournaments.
Let's jump in now and see what happens in our fourth game, of course, of this match. DiNG trailing behind a bit, but I wouldn't be too worried if I was them. It was pretty solid showing for them on Ruinberg here, but they have to attack this time on Ghost Town. They're going to be on the blue side, and they're fanning out a little bit here as well. Might even use that 2-5-1 to flank or maybe start off a cap, but there it is! The Waffenträger E100, what an absolute beast of a tank destroyer that is. Give us the blurb.
Well, it's just a beast. 590 damage. You can just pummel your way through everything. It's an autoloader. Basically no aim down time at all, so actually it's great around these corner situations. 5 shells, what else shall I say? The only problem would be, of course, is, as I said before, you can get penetrating the turret with HE ammo, so if you're looking at these bigger tanks, you're talking about a 390 the average damage tank doing 550 damage against you. It can get really insane real quick, as it is an open top vehicle. But we've also got another German beast tank destroyer on the other team, Prosto, in that not Prosto, Meritorious in the Jagdpanzer E100. That's an absolute beast as well. 1,150 average damage, 23 seconds or so reload. Not too bad. I guess the biggest point would be if you can get it to hold down situation, it can hold a corner and it can hold it for the whole game.
Back in Australia, we call that one the base cannon. Very, very scary to go up head-to-head with. Yeah, pretty much. Polswood there as well, getting a bit involved in towards some of the fighting. No attempt to capture here from DiNG yet. As I say that, it does begin. It's Mercado that's pushed his way on towards there. Diplomat to watch the corner. He's already taken a little bit of damage here as well. So this is more of a side alley, I guess, attraction towards the main show that's going to be happening in the middle of the map. That's where the big fight's going to be had here. See Shockish already getting pushed back. Meritorious. Look at that, 1,574. Meritorious's damage from his shot was a big, big part of that. Rusty Roster already taking quite low. Panachin really feeling the burn there as the rest of the team is coming around. There's Persisters, Liffidus there. Ollie shaking his head. What ails you, friend?
This is just too much damage for Rusty Roster to sustain. The fact that they've had to reverse in this situation has just given them so much time to take them down. That's DiNG.
It's a Meritorious going quite low there despite the armor around that corner. He does get one shot, but now Polsberg going forward. He's looking for Shockies. Prosto's there. Oh god, that's carnage there. The autoloader of the E100 Waffenträger is just so deadly, and he's got to get another shot to let go, and yet another one. So much damage coming away from him. He's let a whole clip go, and he survived. It might well be worth it here, but DiNG are returning in kind here. Rulesig super low. Diplomat looking a bit better here. Might even move forward to block some shots to keep that tank alive, and he does. The capture maybe now a secondary thought. Diplomat moving into a lot of tanks here. It just seems Rusty Roster have far better focus fire here. Better tanks ready to fire. And now things just sort of maybe calm down a little bit. Nope, they're going to come forward here. But Sister and Panachin pushing up. Ricard will try and stop them. Yeah,
but you got Holdnick in the background finally getting the game with that 50B. You got International and 251 just being able to take down the tanks that were taken low at the early stage of this match.
Ricardo taking 2 very big hits, make that one 3. Panachin does go down, but he is going to fall very, very soon after. 2v2 situation now. Rulesig takes down Figo. 57 heavy off the map. Very, very close this one has become.
And Haltnick's actually going to come off reload. This is going to be the biggest thing. If Haltnick can take down Polswich, which he does, he'll also be able to find Socek.
Yep, 3 shots for him, and Socek can, well, he can penetrate a 50B. It's not exactly well armored there, but the autoloader, it's just going to hurt so much here. One more shot and Socek is dead. He had a go at it, but he was really only putting very small dings in towards Haltnick, and well, DiNG, we're actually going to take that one away. 2 and 2.
Yep.
Didn't even intend to make that terrible pun, so don't blame me for it. The game is even after that one there as well. Both these two teams seeming to just, call and response kind of thing going on here. We can go all night. I won't lie here. Seeing those 2 big tank destroyers come into the mix here, which team do you think made better use of theirs?
Well, I think the few seconds Prosto was in the game, he made such a big difference. He made it a basically impossible situation to win into a possible situation. I mean, he just came around the corner, banged his 5 shells in, 590 damage, just taking a lot of tanks low, and suddenly you saw DiNG just like backpedaling towards the base a little bit, like, what's going on? It's taking too much damage. And, you know, Meritorious, he had, I think, 2 shells. Yeah, he connected 2 shells. He's in the game for a long time. He did 2,000 damage. So I think you'll be seeing a lot of teams, you know, picking up those, picking up the Waffentrager, because if you just push it around the corner, it only needs to unload those first shells, and you know, you have to worry about other things later. So, I mean, Rusty taking way too much damage. Did they make the right decision to go behind? I think if literally, this is the reason I was shaking my head, because the Icefall's going forward, so he's like a secured kill here for DiNG. If he didn't go forwards and he just reversed backwards, I think Rusty would have been able to win that.
Very strange to see him go so far forward there. Maybe afraid of the E100 there, maybe afraid of taking some of those shots in. But this is where Prosto just starts to get a little bit trigger happy, and Shockish just nothing you can really do about that one as well.
It's APCR as well. I think it's 360 penetration or something ridiculous like that. So he's just having a field day.
He does go down eventually. I mean, that is just a big ass gun, put it on top of an E100 hull. So, you know.
Yeah, he's got like a 50. The thing is, you know, he's got like a 50-second reload, right? So, I mean, realistically, the game's probably not going to last longer than 50 seconds, so you might as well just get that last shot in and not go back and reverse. Yeah. I think if Pneumatic Show was playing, he probably would have got 2 shots in and gone, I'm out, and started reloading. But, you know, Prosto's
It's an observable trend, ladies and gentlemen. You go back over the VOD and you see exactly that. I mean, sure, if you're in the Waffentrager E100 as well, you probably recognise that fight is probably only going to be one where one clip is probably like ideal. You're happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, getting 2k plus damage down, eliminating important tanks, and then you might well go down. You're not supposed to be a tank to sustain any sort of damage as well. It's literally bugger all armor on that thing, especially on the turrets. So very, very easy to bust through. As you can see, the downsides of engineering when it comes to tanks are putting a big ass gun on the top of a tank. You don't always have the extra weight left to work with armor. So still interesting to see that one work out. It was interesting, Meritorious as well. Coming around that corner on his Jagdpanzer 100, made one shot, but he wasn't really able to make much use of the armor that the tank actually does have, because he got double tapped straight after. 1100 damage went straight back in his direction. He's like, wee, okay, I might have just bitten off more than I could chew here. Yeah,
I mean, the U100, it's a good hold down tank. I mean, the thing is, it's got slightly angled flat plates on the front of the where the gun is, the mantlet, but you can penetrate that almost every single time,
cheeks,
or just enough times, like 50%, 70%, whatever. Obviously, low glaciers, same as the E100, you can easily penetrate that. You can take out the transmission or whatever.
Ladies and gentlemen, time for our third map of the night. It's going to be Himmelsdorf. Let's jump right in. In the red, it's DiNG. So Rusty Roster, should I say. God help me. On the attacking side here. And DiNG on the defensive side in the blue now. Murakar is actually taking the M26 Pershing here. Interesting choice.
Yeah, hold down tank, I guess. I mean, you can definitely bounce things. Very odd bounces on that Pershing. I think it was the first tank where it was literally invincible on one part of its armor for a while. Other interesting things, I swear I saw a 113. Yeah, I do. Figure playing the 113. Probably one of my least favorite tier 10 tanks personally. Kind of a good all-rounder. I mean, it's good gun, decent armor, but it's not particularly great anything. I prefer to play like an E5 or, you know, a T57 or something. But I guess it does a job, and it's super sleek with a decent amount of HP as well to play around. But I have to see how it works. Obviously, Figure's got a reason.
I've seen this somewhere before.
Yeah. This is the old T37 trick.
Yeah, Recaro C, not unlike the T37, Pershing does have a fairly high profile here. So Recaro literally giving himself up here. Because the problem is, if he turns his turret to try and shoot at people, first he's not much points, not exactly stellar penetration on that Pershing or damage. But if he turns his turret away and he's killed with his turret in the wrong direction, he can't give Shockish as much protection with it. So he's literally just going to sit like that the whole game.
Thing is, you can actually penetrate the IS-7 from the front. There's two cupolas at the front. You can actually go straight through it. It's a hard shot to make, but the 50B, for instance, very accurate tank can go straight through that and actually penetrate. So there's those kind of things come into the equation. Also, the front, right, and left of the glaciers of the IS-7 is penetrable with these high penetration shells, probably APCR. So let's see what happens here. I mean, this has basically cancelled out the northern cap. It's very hard. very hard indeed for Rusty Roster to actually make their way through that one, and they are setting up entirely along the 8 line, so I guess it's their plan. And the 113, yeah, very good gun depression, okay gun depression, good turret armor, pretty fast, so a good hill tank, I guess.
Socek now probably has to spot it out the little cheeky strategy that DiNG are trying to put together here, and well, he'll send that back to his team as well. The issue for Rusty Roster here is that with that northern cap denied, they have to sort of cross, and they're crossing over the middle of the map, which could be a very, very risky sort of situation depending on the kind of setup that DiNG have put there. For the most part, it's probably going to be okay with a lot of DiNG's tanks actually just sort of nestled up in the northern side, but DiNG will respond to this as well. Good on Rusty Roster for already identifying that they would be wasting their time going north. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, they 100% would be. Even in the T-37 situation in 754, it was really hard to penetrate that northern position. But interestingly, International's got a bat chat, so maybe that kind of engagement on the hill might happen at some point. But it's not a particularly heavy lineup from DiNG, so I think they want to be getting in a similar position as Rusty Roster will be in terms of the engagement. Maybe International head to E1, but I think DiNG has got an inkling way. So we're not spotting anything across the middle with International. Nothing's being spotted on the hill either. So, you know, Rusty will probably go in for that western side cap, which is definitely the harder cap to make. But if you do execute it, it's very hard to deal with as well.
And I feel like International would have spotted at least one of the Rusty Roster players, actually. He did move. He was in that little window spot there at one of those houses, and he's actually shifted back towards the train hangar, train base, should I say. So he saw at least one tank there. So DiNG know what's going on. They know what's up. That's Ruinberg just putting a cheeky shot across as well towards Lifidus. 2100, it feels much more like a little bruise than an actual flesh wound, but if those 50B shots stack up... It's just a
flesh wound.
Yeah, well... Exactly. If those shots stack up, though, it's going to be a lot more serious now, as Panache and Lifidus have to cross a bit of a dangerous part of territory, that road to get over towards the cap. But Socek, he's already got himself set up on there with the 251. He can be hit, though. He's got to be careful.
Yeah, he's a big tank. I mean, obviously the MX-39 to be better in that position, but the 251 is a choice of Rusty Roster. And now it's really, the onus is on DiNG to go forwards. You can see Rusty Roster is basically set up to stop a push down the 3 line, which is the most obvious one. International playing around the side, and of course, you know, being such a fast mobile tank with so much damage, he can basically get in and out of situations very quickly and head up the hill. As you can already see, Murakar is there ready and waiting.
Rusty Roster are doing a reasonably good job of softening up DiNG now as they push forward. Have a decent health point advantage, at least for the moment. Socek just behind the building as well, biding his time. Holtink only with 2 shots left. Spraying them a little bit frivolously, perhaps. Just hoping to take out some of the fence line as well with that shot. He does catch on towards Poleswood with his last one. So he's revealed that 110E5. Poleswood now has to sit even further back. International was spotted by the 113 actually in the southern side of the map here, but he's got a decent little flanking position. This is exactly how you want to play the bat chat. You want to take her by surprise, but that's not by surprise at all. Prosto does see him, and International favoured the challenge, at least for the moment here. He tried to make a shot, bounced off harmlessly, and now he's going to be caught in that spot.
Funny, actually, Murakar, the kind of sacrificial lamb, is the one doing the most work here for DiNG. I mean, doing such good stuff with the Pershing from the top. He's starting to chunk down Rusty Roster. I mean, Rusty has been winning those engagements clearly at the beginning of the map, but the Pershing has got great penetration, 263, 262, 264, somewhere around there, 260 marks, so it can get the tier 10s.
That it can do some damage. A lot of just that. Just damage being put towards DiNG now as they're sort of grouped up near that C3, C4 line. Rakar as well, just doing a great job from the hill as well. Tanks being traded back and forth here. Was an E100 going down though, crucially for Rusty Roster. A little bit of that beef taken out of their sandwich. Rakar still on that hill, just chipping away. Panache takes another hit from him as well. So annoying, and that damage really adds up.
Yeah, and Meritorious interestingly going forwards. He knows he can get the 1-for-1 exchange because Rusty Roster was trying to get International down, and they did manage to get International down in the middle. But this is a 3 versus 4 situation. As Panasarian gets into the game, it's 4 versus 4, but DiNG in the better positions.
Holtnik dropped down though, and so does Shockish. So a couple of kills coming the way of Rusty Roster here. They're taking a bit of damage to do so. Prosto up the front, Persista at the back. This could be very, very nasty for DiNG now if Rusty want to keep pushing on towards him. Now, bear in mind, more guns in the game. That is the buzzword right now. They can focus those shots towards Diplomat as well, and you'll see that health total equalize quite quickly. Meritorious has the 1v1 versus Poleswood, but he misses a crucial shot. he's going to take some damage here if he's not careful. He has to fire very, very quickly to avoid taking yet another hit, which he shouldn't have taken in the first place. However, he's quicker on the trigger finger. He gets a shot, doesn't take any more damage now, but only him and Rukara standing. Panarchin crossing the field over towards him. Socek is now trying to work on that cap, or at least just be a constant nuisance here as well. And Rusty Roster looking pretty sharp.
And Meritorious, again, the heat ammo just being a problem. Not managing to do the damage he should be doing, just bouncing, absorbing, all those kind of issues. And, you know, Shockish went down in that push around the corner. That definitely didn't help them out. And Meritorious on his own. Murakar's not going to be able to do much in that 240 average damage tank from the side. So, yeah, game over.
Rusty Roster. These two teams at least are happy to take each other right towards the end of the game. The capture will be completed, of course, in 23 seconds. And Ricard knows he's all but done and dusted. He can't even reset from this position, of course, with Figo and Basista making far more prominent targets of themselves than those capping tanks. So Ricard, a little bit of target practice for him now. As that time ticks down to sub 5 seconds, this should be done.
He's done the most damage in the game, I guarantee it. Well, or at least he's in the top 3, because this guy's been a beast. I mean, really has been fantastic. I think maybe International should have been up on the hill and Murkar should have been down, because I think International falling that bat chat to the FE215B was the kind of you know, the nail in the coffin for DiNG, because at the end of the day, you know, a bat chat should never be in those one-on-one exchanges. You should be able to get behind in an awkward position, get those 5 shells out, and then move on to your next target.
Yeah, and it was saying, I was just saying, actually, this is how you should use the bat chat. And then I think he was caught by Prosto pretty much straight away. So hoping for a flank, but was caught. And bat chats don't really go too well in 1v1s against big heavy tanks like the 215B. Not really an ideal situation for the man. You're right, though, about Murkar. 3.5k damage for the man. Very strong game.
Extraordinary strong. I mean, 240 damage. The guy was just having a field day on the hill. Fantastic work by him. Imagine how much of a one-sided that match would have been if he wasn't on the hill in the first place. So great by him. Again, as I said, imagine if that was International up there instead. He would have been able to do a ton more work. Or if it was both of them up there, because International was pretty useless in this position. But yeah, Rusty Roster, new team to the league. Doing well.
So far, so good. 3-2 up against DiNG here, who haven't really impressed us so far, I think it's safe to say. I mean, last season as well, they're a tough team to really, you know, when it comes to putting your money where your mouth is, you know, where DiNG were involved, you had to be very, very careful and dance around the topic, because they would beat good teams and then lose to maybe arguably not so good teams here. Tonight, they look a little bit shaky, a little bit unsure, and Rusty Roster are just playing a solid game. It's consistent. They, you know, very much back and forth in terms of score, but their approach to each and every round has been measured. Yeah. Not fast, not throwing themselves into the mix like we've seen from a lot of other teams here. I mean, this is a city map as well, so Himmelsdorf is one we expect to play it a little bit slower. But across these maps we've been seeing already, slow and steady seems to win the race, especially if you're RR.
Yeah, we've got 3 city maps in a row. We had Ruinberg, then we got Ghost Town, and then we got Himmelsdorf. So clearly these 2 teams, like in the city, the more city-orientated map, I think we've seen a lot of Polish teams liking the slower maps. DiNG also, last season, potentially like the city map. So I think this is, yeah, I mean, it's good to see. We've seen a lot of those faster Prokhorovkas, the Cliffs, your Mines today, but yeah, we've finally got a more of a slow-paced one in the mix as well. We get a bit of everything here in the WGL 768 format. But, I mean, both the heavy tanks coming out seems to be a recurring theme here. First round on the board, second round on a city map, you go to your German tank destroyers for a bit of bestiality. We like a bit of that aggressiveness coming out from those tanks. It's, and they're pretty damn scary as well when they get thrown in there. I mean, we're going to be coming around, I guess, to our second Himmelsdorf round here. And it's been so back and forth. It's really been tit for tat gameplay between these two E100s here for RR. I can already see that going in here. So they're still going to be favouring those big, heavy hitters. But what I like that we're seeing actually from DiNG, and you guys can't see it, we'll show in a second, is that they're going with a double 50B lineup. They're actually wanting to come in with 2 of those here, and even a 3090 in the mix just for some auto-loading potential. Yeah, I think, you know, whereas perhaps Rusty Roster kind of struggled without with a 251. I think, you know, DiNG's fully aware of the AMX 3090 being a smaller tank. They can sit it in that left side cap and do whatever they want there in that position without having to worry about, you know, a tank getting a cheeky shot on the side of its track. So, yeah, and I like the lineup here from both teams. I mean, it's just such early days in terms of the meta for 768. We have no idea what's going to happen in the next 3 months of the WGL. Bear in mind, this is your first part of match day 1.
Let's jump into things now as Rusty Roster defending with 3 points already. Hold on for yet another round and make it 4. And that will be match point, of course, coming up against DiNG, and they'd love to get a good start against a team that's already proven here in the WGL. But Socek now, he's pushed a long way south. Very, very aggressive little scouting route for him now. Just pass. At least see those heavy tanks. We actually can't tell with the mod right now. I don't know if they're spotted. But he's definitely gone very, very deep for that bit of information.
Yeah, I mean, everything has been changed to the mod. Everything's been taken off the team panel, so there's no reload or spots. So you can actually look towards the tanks on the minimap. Go look towards the minimap, see if the square goes around the tanks. If they got the square, they have been spotted. Also, the reloads are now only on the nameplates and not on the side, as I said before. But yeah, Rusty Roster, they've gone for something heavy. This is the thing I said last time. DiNG had like a pretty high DPN lineup. I got a coffee or something. I got something in the back of my throat. Sorry, Mitch. But yeah, DiNG had a pretty fast, furious kind of lineup, and yeah, Rusty Roster not making that mistake perhaps, and going for something a little bit more heavy. 15,750 HP.
That's a lot. It's definitely a lot to work with for these teams right now. Let's see, Socek, of course, still out wide. Hasn't pushed as deep as he did earlier on here, so sitting back, it's still a fairly forward position for that 2-5-1 to be, and it has to be careful at least that he can actually get back towards the rest of his team without being spotted on the cross. But DiNG, by the same token, aren't really aggressively pushing off this G line here. They've made sure at least that Rusty Roster aren't forcing a heavy tank down to G3 like we've seen earlier on, like we saw from out of range. They're just very much drawing a line here as well. The 250Bs up on the hill, almost reminiscent of the 754 kind of approach with those 25100s here. Still having 2 of those tanks committed towards this hill is a lot for these two, and one has to ask the question, how do they plan to use them? You did highlight, of course, Oliver, that they are very accurate, so can do some work from up on high here. But DiNG don't know yet if that northern approach here is sort of nullified. Rusty Roster haven't used the Pershing as sort of the cover. You know what's really funny about last game is Brakar was just supposed to be a prop.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I mean, Mokar was just supposed to be the sacrificial lamb. He was supposed to be the one that died, but because of the Pershing's hull down ability, because of that 268 penetration, the T1 15 E2M2 gun, it actually came perfectly into the game and started to work in favor for us, for DiNG. So these things happen, and you have to think about the second plan. Are you going to go for plan A? Okay, you're going to go for plan A. Plan B. What's the tank going to do then? What's the plan then? You've always got to have a backup situation, a backup plan in mind.
International wants to try and spot towards that A line there. Not going to see a lot. And Rusty Roster again bringing a Waffenträger E100, who's just committed towards that A1 position right now. So a little bit out of position really if any sort of northern attack happens, but Rusty Roster seems satisfied that DiNG haven't really committed to anything of the sort quite yet. It's just International pushing forward, and we're following him now as he does look to try and make an entry, to try and open up, or at least see what Rusty Roster have in store for DiNG. Not the tanks per se, but where they are. And sometimes not finding a tank in a certain place is just as impactful information-wise as finding a tank there as well. International playing the process of elimination here, filtering back this information to his team as Shockish is tentatively pushing forward towards his north cap.
Yeah, he's just being careful he doesn't get caught out by Lydius there in the IS-4. Murkar in the background as well. So a great thing about the E100 is that you can actually poke. I mean, you can have the front of the hull as a kind of plateau for your teammates to just poke over their tank, their turret over the cross of over the top of it. Another problem is with the E100, in my opinion, is that you can actually get penetrated from every single angle, basically from the front, by aiming at the tracks. Like you shoot at the front flywheel, and you get penetrated. It's the most annoying thing when another player knows it, because suddenly that frontal armor, which you think you're gonna be able to keep safe by angling it, is useless. So that's always a big problem with that tank. As International does go forwards, he will be able to go down in that position in the cap, safe, and start putting the pressure onto Rusty Roster.
This is going to require a quick and immediate removal from Rusty Roster, and you can see some of those tanks starting to stir, starting to move around. Socek is here up on the hill. He sees Holgnick as well and fancies himself a shot against the 50B. At least he can keep him busy here as well. He'd be happy to do that. 2 shots go in, and no response here from Holgnick. Completely caught by surprise now. Holgnick has to connect these, and he misses yet another one, or towards Socek. No, that one did go through, so I've got health bar confusion. Thanks. There we go.
he connected it, but yeah, Hulknick is aware that he can actually get solo potentially by Socek. So he's going to head off the game. Not a particularly great match so far for Hulknick. Been underperforming slightly, but Cap still on the way. Rusty Roster, classic move here, pushing along the B line, pushing along the CD line at some point, or at least just keeping them safe themselves, keeping DiNG away from pushing the middle road.
He is Figo, the big boy. Just not far behind Proster here as well. He'd hate to be have Hulknick on the top of the hill shooting down on him at this stage, and so it's been so much more important that Socek was up there to actually shake him out of that spot. Now the capture is still underway, of course, with that 130.90 of international. And that's going to be reset pretty much straight away there, that IS4 finally committing to that one here. But look at Rusty Roster, they've all been pulled towards this one here. And DiNG haven't really made that big a commitment. It's just international really out in the open.
Yeah,
if you can call it that.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, international the only one who's capable of getting killed. But yeah, this is the thing. With these bigger, with the IS3 is full stop. With HE ammo, you can splash. But with the IS4, with a bigger gun, you can splash even more. You have a higher splash radius with HE, so it's working out very well, and international simply cannot cap in that situation. And I think, DiNG maybe should have gone for that left side with the AMX 1390 because of, well, maybe the knowledge that that is a possibility, and the fact that Rusty Roster does have such a heavy lineup.
Oh, you can hear the heaviness coming out in those guns. Panachin and Persista with those beastly guns. I'm going to go see if they connect from this angle there as well, as Makar is actually slowly making his way down. Shockies has actually moved up this time instead of an international backing off, so maybe the E100 might step up there to start up some sort of cap here. But look at Socek, such a pain in the rear. Always aggressing towards Hulknick here, but he's got to be careful. One shot will be his demise. Oh no, Hulknick has to go for a reload. Socek can actually throw shots in towards him and can potentially solo him from this position. Hulknick maybe knows that as well. He angles his front towards him. A little bit of armor on the front of the 50 be enough at least to turn aside some of those shots here. But you've got to be starting to sweat if you're that man.
I mean, he's dead. Hulknick's dead, 100%.
Get wrecked.
There's just no way he can survive this. And Socek, good idea to stay on the hill. He actually goes for the front on Glaciers, which makes him bounce one. But yeah, Hulknick just getting soloed by a 251. That's the problem, when you have an autoloader on a hill against a single shot gun, doesn't matter how much damage it does, 250 is enough. If your team sees, okay, that autoloader shot twice, you do the maths and you see that if you can push or not. If you can push, that's what happens.
Whoa, Figo gets massive hits over towards him there. That was the 100 of Meritorious. These two love going head-to-head against each other in these fights, but Figo has to be careful because even International's getting involved in this one, and he can penetrate that Waffentrager E100 even with the 3090. Meritorious falls, but so does the Figo there, of course, and the Waffentrager. Opposite numbers dropping down on either side of the map here. DiNG is coming forward. They've got a good amount of health as well, despite some awkwardness there with what with Hulknick was doing beforehand. They still seem to be okay as they push forward here. Persista catches Shockish as he comes across. Polswet is also there as well. Shockish taking a lot of damage in a very short space of time. And like you said, that flywheel, of course, towards the front of the tank on the track side is revealed by his position there. And here we go, Rusty Roster getting involved now, evening things up a little bit, but International seems to be coming in from behind, and so is Rulzik as well. This might work out in favour of Rusty Roster, but only if they can hold on and maybe avoid the damage coming in from behind. I don't know if they can here. So much damage now coming back in response.
It's just really slow reloading tanks, the E5 and the E100s. It's just a bit awkward for these two teams to take each other out, but finally the autoloaders do come in, but Zista gets International down.
So it's a 3 versus 3 situation here, but the health points in favour of DiNG and Rusty Roster. They're going to fall over here, I feel. DiNG are going to make it 3-3, and a tit-for-tat match, if I've ever seen one, continues in such a fashion. Panachin now knows that, well, Mr. Akar's the only guy that can really shoot him within the next short period of time. 45 seconds will be enough here for DiNG to get the job done, unless Socek can keep himself out of there as well. Rusty Roster have failed to defend this one out, no doubt about it. Socek just trying to leave here. This is interesting because DiNG have to cap here. 35 seconds left. Rulzik's going hunting for Socek. If he can stay alive here, if he can get up this hill safely, it could be enough for Rusty Roster to take away this round.
Yeah, I mean, 25 seconds left on the clock. There's no way Merkar and Rulzik can actually get uphill in time. It's this whole thing. I mean, Rusty Roster with such heavy lineup keeps DiNG at bay long enough, despite them having 3,600 HP more. I mean, this is just unbelievable.
Oh, MVP.
Socek MVP.
No doubt about it.
Just like Murakar was MVP in his tier 8 last time, Socek MVP in his tier 8 this time.
What a beast, man. That's sick. Wow. Wow. Rusty Roster get another win there as well. First time actually pulling 2 rounds ahead of DiNG. And this is adding insult to injury. Not only does Holknick get wrecked by the 2-5-1, but that same tank secures victory for Rusty Roster at the end of that game here. Heavy tanks don't go fast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And when you have that little tier 8
one.
there as well, as a defensive team, you can do a heck of a lot with it.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Merkar with his 3,574 damage in his Pershing was, impressive, and maybe one of the better scores we'll see in a tier 8 this season on Himmelsdorf. But Shozek says, no, I'm a new player to Rusty Roster. I'm going to come in with 3,661 damage in my 251 and solo a tier 10 tank. So, I mean, yeah, that guy MVP for sure.
Wow. Very impressive stuff from him,
Or
dude.
if you're Sean's case, man of the match. So... Yeah, but 2 kills as well. That guy is an absolute beast.
That was sick from him, really. It's great because we're seeing...
So happens when you ignore a tank,
What's that?
So happens when you ignore a tank.
Yeah, especially like a 2-5-1 as well, who has a decent fire rate. And with Holknick missing a lot of shots, he had 2 clips worth of shots.
He should have just gone and killed him.
3 shots out of 8 is all he... I think he... Maybe 4.
Yeah.
Maybe 4. 50% of his shots is all he had to hit towards Socek there, but somehow the 2-5-1 survived. It's a rare thing to see now, and I want to know what people are talking about on Twitter, of course, because we've seen some interesting results. Melly, over to you now, of course. Voting's closed. That one's all done. What's the results there?
70 to 30%.
In favour of?
DiNG.
Interesting. Man, people might be regretting some of those votes coming in now.
Still 3-3, so I
I
mean...
think we're getting back to that topic that people don't like change and don't trust new teams because there's change this season and they know DiNG, they know what DiNG is capable of, and fresh blood in the league is always like, well, let's see how they do. If it's gonna be good, if not, I don't want to like put my money on the wrong team. Well,
No one does.
sitting pretty on match point, right?
Yeah.
People, tell us what's on your mind. Head over to Twitter and use the hashtag WGLEU to get involved. I already saw some brilliant memes and all, because that's what you guys love, and me as well.
Like a good
It
meme.
hit you too.
I like a good meme,
sadly, but
Keep it fresh and young, so I like the memes. Let's keep going. That's what we like.
Rolling in.
the Jalapeno Brothers, who was it that?
The Jalapeno Bros. Yeah.
Yeah, Forgot about that one.
I don't know if I want to be related to
Super
Ollie
nice
though,
stream.
after some of the things he said tonight. I tell you what, that's next level stuff. So, 4-2.
Yeah.
Rusty Roster obviously up 2 games now. Match point is just around the corner. And I'd be interested to see now if Rusty Roster can get it done here. DiNG, I don't know, keeping it neck and neck for so long there and then having lost that important round on Himmelsdorf right at the end. A round they should have won.
Yeah.
Should have won. I think they played it right until that last point. Forgetting about Socek was a big problem. I really think like he deserved or garnered more attention from Holknick than maybe he was offered, and he made him pay for ignoring him.
I mean, this is just one of those things you learn very early in World of Tanks. If you have a one-on-one situation, you don't want to be an autoloader because one mistake, one missed shell.
Unforgiving.
Yeah, you have no... I mean, we're going to 35 seconds reload. The other player is good enough to know he's going to push and he's going to take you down. So I think bad allocation of tanks to put autoloader on the hill like that, and I think that lost him the game for sure.
Yeah, it's funny. We saw 2 50Bs being put up there for DiNG actually at the start of the round as well. So
That would have been fine. I mean, if they had 2 50Bs, they would have been able to take out Shozek or at least, keep him off the hill. But 1, not good enough.
wasn't to be. The 251 taking a bit of a different flavour than we saw last season. But here we go on towards our next map. And what could be the final one here if Rusty Roster have their say. It's the map of steps. All right, we're going to be into this one now. Rusty Roster are on the defensive side here, so they'll be happy with that one as DiNG are coming forward and attacking some different tanks here. We're seeing the Object 430 Mark II being picked up for Shockish here with that rear-mounted turret. Very, very interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's good. I'm not sure, if the tank lineups are making so much of a difference right now. I mean, the 430... such a high DPM gun, a lot of damage, good sniper. Of course, going to be in a similar position to the 416 was in previous seasons. But yeah, this is the first time we've seen steps so far, at least in the regular season of 768. So, I mean, completely new map for us in a lot of respects, and an open map which was really defined by good pushes and good aggression towards caps in 754. I'm not sure if that's going to continue.
Well, you said aggression, but DiNG is actually sitting back here and actually, sort of, I guess, shepherding Meritorious for the most part. He's sitting back on this one as well. They do have a strike force of 4 STB1s, plus International on that batch out 25. Socek is up here on the hillside. He's already managed to get his way up there as well. Hoping to spot, hoping to be that nuisance, and he was just so effective as earlier on tonight, of course, in the last map. Stunning stuff from that man. And M53-55 for Meritorious here as well, hoping to make some sort of connection. So DiNG have to rely heavily on this on the spearhead of these STBs here. If things go wrong for them, there's not going to be a heck of a lot of backup, really.
Yeah, exactly. And with only one round per map, basically, 1 round per side, you don't have the option necessarily of going, okay, 1 round we're going to go aggressive with the normal lineup or play a normal game, and the second round we're going to do like the 5 T32 stack like we saw in SEM 54, which in Rusty Roster's case would be, I guess, a 6 mouse and 1 AMX 3090 in the middle kind of situation. Which the STPs wouldn't be able to move unless they really coordinated well, and it might be too little too late by then. I'm sure we'll see some sort of tactic like that as we go through the season.
Now, Socek can see these blind shots coming towards him as well, so he knows that DiNG are probing a little bit here towards this one. Shockish still doesn't seem to have spotted Socek as well behind that bush. So a lot of information being gained for free by Rusty Roster here, and accordingly, they're arranging their forces on the battlefield. Now, do note, they have a very medium-based lineup themselves. They're happy to brawl. Well, there's 5 STB1s and a 140, and then RU251. So it's definitely not a heavy lineup by any stretch of the imagination. Very much in the same line of thinking as DiNG. I want to try and just mess things up here. Now, Socek, he's actually just above this cap, so we can see what's happening. You can see what Shockish is trying to do there. He doesn't want to give away his position by firing, but at least, Rusty Roster can go in towards his retake with plenty of information.
The thing is, DiNG are making mistakes right now because your lamp only gets initiated once, and it gets initiated once per respot. So Shockish has been lit up, thinks he's safe now because he hasn't got another lamp on. But one of his players in his team should actually make sure that there's not a tank just sitting up there on the right side, lighting him constantly. Because Socek, as soon as the cap gets low, he's going to be able to make the shot, and it's going to be game over. And so right now, Rusty Roster can just play the kind of time game, not worry too much about the cap, make sure they don't lose too much damage, which they just did a little bit onto Polsved, as Meritorious makes a good shell on the M53.
I'm not sure if Socek is biding his time and waiting for the right moment to get a reset, or if he's just unable to do so there. Shockish is untouched thus far on that cap, as it does continue to tick down here.
No, he doesn't have to. I mean, he's got so much time. He doesn't have to make the reset yet.
He just has the hope that he can at least penetrate that shot when it does come. But Shockish moves up here as well. So DiNG backing off, realizing that Shockish is constantly being lit there, so something has to be awry here. And if it isn't Polswed, Panachin all moving forward as well, getting over their first defilade, and they can actually have a bit of safety as they push a bit further on. The hill there is quite interesting, a bit of a C shape for them. But here we go. Maybe towards the north side is where things might be going. Rusty Roster seem to at least maybe be anticipating some rotations here. The wolf pack of STBs does seem to be on the move for DiNG here. Maybe heading towards the north. But Rusty Roster have sustained a little bit of damage, but they've held well so far. And DiNG are being forced to stay on their toes.
Yeah, as long as DiNG stay towards that right side and don't take down Socek, there's just no way they can win that right side, in my opinion. But again, if they do take the entirety of that right side, then they can start peeking up and taking advantage of their artillery, just being able to pound the positions which they have. And this is what's happening right now. Polsved getting chunked pretty bad at Shockish, though, in that in that object 430. Has to sit behind that rock.
And Polsved goes down there as well. It's Meritorious with a very clever shot to actually pick him up there.
Brilliant shot.
We expect no less from the man. He's been around a long time and he continues to impress us. Diplomat does take a glancing blow. Yet another one towards him now, forced to back off. Still, there's a problem. DiNG are coming forward and not knowing really exactly where Rusty Roster is set up here. So they have to take some risks. They have to play it by percentages and start to assume at least the most likely positions for some of these tanks to be and work around there. But Diplomat made a miscalculation there and he's suffered half his health worth of damage as a result.
Yeah, and but having lost Polsved to a pretty stupid mistake and a little bit of over-aggression from him, it has given DiNG a good opportunity to go forward right now, and despite the fact that Socek's over there, because they have that tank advantage, they will still be in a position just to be able to fend off whatever Rusty Roster throws at them.
Diplomat down to half health. Socek Still has not fired. He knows it's pretty much certain death for him to actually reveal his position right now, only when he absolutely has to. But 2 takes on the cap here. Time is that much more of the essence here, and his shot, when he does choose to make it, if he chooses to make it, must connect. Otherwise, there's just not going to be any time.
Probably.
Get some cheeky splash on there.
Just go for the 100% damage. Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, they're STVs. You can penetrate that one, I think, with the HE. But still, they're down towards 10 seconds here. This is going to require some sort of movement here from Rusty Roster. Great work from Socek. That was the reset that he wanted, the reset that he needed now. But he's going to be forced to pay dearly for that one. He has to back away. Persista took down Shockish at least, but look at how the shot's coming back in response. Persista drops down. Only 4 tanks left for Rusty Roster. And DiNG, honestly, while it looked like Rusty Roster had so much battlefield control, they're just failing in the trade so hard, taking so much damage. It's very inefficient. And DiNG are happy to sit on this cap, but now they've got such a big advantage, they'll just wait for them to come to them.
A little bit of a mistake from Sojek as well. He should have just driven straight down the hill instead of going towards the side. And, you know, if you go straight down, you have momentum, you have speed, you have gravity on your side, and you also have a smaller angle to hit, smaller profile. Exactly, a smaller profile to hit. And yeah, this is game for DiNG for sure. Meritorious doing so much work in the background, proving that artillery is still viable on open maps. We've seen it effective on Ruinberg so far.
Absolutely, and oh, this one is no difference. There it is. Figo does finally go down, and DiNG, with a very respectable health point total, actually finished the match there on the attacking side. Never actually had to know where Rusty Roster were because they drew them out of position. And even though Socek was in a great spot that they wouldn't even have known that he would have been there until very, very late on the piece. If you can't act on the information you're given accordingly, you may as well have no information at all.
Exactly, and you know, they were losing the trades left, right, and center. You saw the STB ones of DiNG just connecting shell after shell. They had good information going forward to Shockish in the M43, Object 432. And then, you know, he managed to just spot that line of STPs from Rusty Roster. And, you know, DeHultnik in the background finally stepping up for his team with 3 kills and 4,000 damage to provide support. So, yeah, good play. Again, meritorious, you know, getting that kill onto Polza, giving the early advantage. Not worrying about the cap too much. And just good medium tank play.
Socek fired 1 shot in that match. You know,
that 1 shot to get the reset.
Yeah.
Too early as well. He shot it like about 10-15 seconds too early, I think.
Well, I don't really know if the extra time would have really helped Rusty Roster out in this one. Our last game of the day, I mean, you can have a look at the scores down the bottom as well. 5-3, 5-4. This one looks like it's going to be going the distance as well, at least to a 5-3 kind of scenario now is... Well, Rusty Roster have a chance, at least now, to be the attacking side, to go and see what they can make of this one. We've only seen city maps so far. That's all we've seen. Yeah. And Rusty Roster look really good on Himmelsdorf on those last few ones. They seem to have a good understanding of how these city maps work, but we have seen this before. We've seen this before when, with the exception of Utopia, by the way, who I think play really nicely on open maps. Steps was quite good for them last season, but some of these Polish teams, with the way that they prefer to play, can be a little bit out of sorts when they're put on an open map as opposed to those cityscapes.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this has been a match of cityscapes so far. We've had Ruinberg first, then Ghost Town, then Himmelsdorf. So this is interesting that now we're on a faster map. DiNG is stepping up, and I think it's an experience thing as well. When you're on an open map, you know, a more coordinated team, a team that's been together longer, definitely has the advantage. And you know, exactly the opposite of Pentu. When they were playing on the city maps, they were struggling for sure today. But yeah, we have to see how this one works. Both teams have artillery now, meritorious in the M53/55, and Liftus in the Object 261. Both, well, at least Liftus playing the first tier 10 artillery we've seen in the season. Obviously, the first part of the match day 1. Probably my favorite tier 10 to play. Very accurate.
Not the T92.
Nah, not anymore. That was the old Myosin days. Since the 10% accuracy nerf to T92 is just unusable.
All right. You get it first.
I don't like gambling, so T92 is not fun.
All right.
You have to be sadomasochistic to play that tank. Seriously.
Okay. Well, I think that's a pretty emphatic impression there we've gotten from Ollie. There's that 261 though, that tier 10 artillery there for Lifidus. Now, well, so much more onus being put on you to make that work, especially when it's taking up 10 tier points instead of the 8 that we're seeing other teams go for here. So Lifidus lining things up here as well. And Rusty Roster, well, honestly, a little bit of a similar looking start here. It's just a little bit of a first shot coming out from Lifidus, a blind one. It's Diplomat, Makar, Rulzik on your screen there. They're coming from north to south on the blue side, of course. DiNG are defending here. And they've already taken a fairly forward position. And, you know, Rusty Roster gave up this part of the map, but DiNG want to hold on to it tight.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I mean, DiNG going for that right side is a normal move in 1054, and it's being repeated here. So this is interesting. I mean, a lot of the times in 1054, at least, we had little artillery use on the defense side, more on the attacking side to get the initial advantage. So Meritorious, obviously DiNG thinking, okay, so we need double tier 9, so let's pick a good artillery piece. The Object 430, again, a very good sniping tank, does a lot of damage. Not that different from the tier 10, so it can actually do some good work here. So I think this is going to be a battle of artillery the first 2-3 minutes. So far, none of them really connecting anything significant.
Very important game here, of course, for Rusty Roster, who have had that match point as well in the last round and failed to claim it. And even more so here, DiNG can actually force a tiebreaker if they win this one. So very, very tense stuff. Probably the most important round of the game. Obviously not if you don't count the final one, but this is really going to set the tone now. Will we have another tiebreaker tonight? Already had one before, and it was a very, very close affair here. But DiNG looking a lot better on the last one. I don't know. Open maps maybe is their thing. That's speculation from this point on now, as Rusty Roster moving into position. Look at this. Lifters going all the way towards the north in this 2-6-1. And it looks like Rusty Roster want to just give this north cap a little bit of a tickle and then put some pressure down, of course, with the artillery on towards the valley. A bit more of a standard play for this map as compared, I guess, to what we saw in Season 1.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got the artillery in the straight line position where it can shoot straight onto targets. It's also safe, which is kind of like a bonus. So basically going to wait for DiNG to go across the middle. I mean, of course, a lot of the times in the previous 754, you had tanks sitting up into D8 in the cap number 2, in the blue cap number 2, and they would just shoot straight across, blind shoot straight across. But of course, you know, no T-32 here, which was basically an iconic tank on this map, basically the most important tank on this map as well, because it's a perfect size just to peek over that hill with a 90mm, great reload, shooting across towards the cap, blind shooting, and you know, eventually you'd hit.
Meritorious now set up on your screen. He's had to turn his head. He was looking back towards sort of J5 earlier on, but now he's had to really train his gun over towards that northern cap. And it has been started off. It's Sochek sitting inside that cap. And DiNG have to respond here as well. And you can see what they're going to do. They're going to work in from the south. Surely Rusty Roster should be expecting this particular kind of play. And interesting enough here, it doesn't look like DiNG have a really strong inclination to play hull down or peek up outside the valley. They've got the two STB1s who have a fairly decent depression, I guess, in terms of those tier 10 mediums, but they don't want to use them from there. They actually just want to push from the south entirely. You think this is wise?
Depends if Shokish just gets wrecked in the next few seconds. I guess he won't be. I mean, he's an incredibly fast tank, scampering across the middle. Of course, the big difference is that a lot of the teams went straight through the middle road, but Shokish deciding to go for that left side, but gets spotted so early. Will he get the reset?
Ballsy play, can he get the reset? He's got to get it. He does. He lands that shot nicely there, and he's forced back. He takes a lot of damage forward, and DiNG have to sort of offer him up there to at least reset things, but they might not even bother anymore. Sochek actually goes up for a peek. Strange that he does that, because of course DiNG have players and tanks in towards the south side. Now, Shokish can just stay in spot here, really, as those STB1s over on that eastern side are also rounding towards the north. They're coming in for a bit of a fight. Figo actually goes towards Shokish. It's Panache gets a shot in from behind there, so he's in deep trouble, that tank, but he's definitely done his job for now. It's all a matter of whether it was a worthwhile investment for DiNG to let him get so damaged to go and get that reset Shokish. I mean, he's a player that they can at least trust to get that job done. There was only a few seconds. If Shokish had missed that shot, there would have been no reset, and this whole series would have gone over to Rusty Roster. So he finally drops down now, and DiNG are just working around that one. In terms of damage, it's still a fairly even affair. In fact, Rusty Roster behind, even though having that extra tank. So we'll have to see how that works out later. But remember, having that extra gun in the game, in the long term, is a big boon for your team. Yeah,
so Rusty Roster just want to keep DiNG at bay, use Lydius in that artillery lifters, in that artillery, to try and hit some of these shells. He has not hit too much. Meritorious had a couple of near misses. And DiNG obviously have to come from a different angle. They've lost their initial player, Shokish, to get the reset. And of course, you know, Rusty Ross are going to go for the exact same move again and just say, DiNG, you have to come to us. You have to make that move. You're a tank behind, after all.
Now on the defensive side, though. So if they can keep themselves alive, like Rusty Roster did, of course, on that last Himmelsdorf round, they'll take this one to a tiebreaker. These artillery pieces as well. A lot of interest towards them and then the impact that they'll have on the game as it does continue. Both of them obviously still on the map. Meritorious going to throw a shot over in that direction as well. I think that was really a spotted shot. As you can see that most of DiNG actually have backed right off here as well. The STBs have headed back towards the south. The cap has obviously been restarted again. So they need to come forward yet again. Giving up another tank here could be devastating. It could be the match for DiNG because losing one is one thing, but losing that second as well, they're behind 2 guns, and that health point difference shifts very, very quickly when your enemy can fire more shots in that space of time. 14 seconds left. Saw another blind artillery shot coming in, didn't quite connect here. I don't know if there's enough time here, and STB is going to be trying to push in from the eastern side, but there's an IS-7 there to meet him. Rulesy can't get across. 6 seconds left. DiNG are nowhere to be seen.
Meritorious has to hit this next shell. He's got no time left. He's got the reload. Why is he not going for it?
Bizarre. Absolutely. Oh my lord. What? No way. In the final second there, he does go down. The cap is reset. Incredible stuff there. Sochek drops. It wasn't a meritorious shot, actually. It might have been one of the STBs, but they managed to stop Rusty Rosser from winning the game right there and then. Seriously, you couldn't even write that in the script. It doesn't get any closer, but somehow DiNG hanging on.
Brilliant stuff, and they've also managed to take down that RU-251, so the capping situation, the capping play is a lot harder for Rusty Rosser to make, so they are going forwards. In terms of HP, it's neck and neck. Tanks alive are the same, basically, except, of course, DiNG are down 2, but in terms of HP, they are ahead in this game. But we'll have to see what goes on. I mean, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left. It's still a lot of time, as Lydius probably finds out that he's in a bad situation, a bad position.
Yeah, he probably knows that already. He's in deep trouble. He's going to be hunted down now. Yeah, he should have a crack at this one. He's going to, slowly. It's a boat, that thing, really. A vessel, if I've ever seen one. Actually, Lividus can have maybe 1 shot. Oh!
Brilliant.
Thanks for coming. That's a very handy little bit of damage over towards Diplomat. He'll go down now as well. Does get some damage across the line here. And yet another cap's been initiated by Rusty Rosser, this time towards the eastern side. They're going to be doing with 3 tanks as well. And DiNG are being pulled left, right, and center across the map. Yeah,
so, I mean, DiNG, I think they're at a slight advantage here because they've still got the artillery piece alive. Hognick's pretty close to being able to get this reset. And as soon as this reset does come in, Rusty Rosser are in a very bad situation.
Well, I have to be able to hold on and fight here as well. 4v5, behind in health. Meritorious still up as well. That is going to be such a crucial factor as well, as Rusty Rosser don't have anywhere to go. They have to stay on this point and defend it, and that's going to be open seas now for the artillery. Figo gets caught by Meritorious. A lot of damage on towards him. The artillery really coming into play. Prosto trying to get towards his teammates. He manages to get towards International here. 1 minute 45 left on the clock. Prosto takes 2 shots up towards his rear end, and Polsword having to push forward as well. But Makar and Diplomat are looking healthy. They're looking vital, and they're looking ready for this tiebreaker map.
Yeah, this is going to be a tiebreaker. As soon as Rusty Rosser went into the cap, it was going to be DiNG's game at the end of the day because they can just come from every single angle. Rusty didn't have any tanks on alternate angles to actually deal with DiNG from behind or the side. So we'll be moving on to mines as Holtnick takes down Figo and DiNG puts it 4-4. I honestly thought Rusty Rosser were going to come out ahead, but couldn't hang on there.
Absolutely stunning stuff from DiNG there as well. Looking very flat after Himmelsdorf. Very, very average map for them as well, which was what put Rusty Rosser on that match point in the first place. They've now turned it on its head. They get 2 rounds here on steps with some very, very dominant play. Good stuff from them, really. I enjoy that. I mean, we've seen plenty of DiNG tiebreakers in last season, and this one doesn't look like it's going to be any exception. So like Ollie pointed out as well, our tiebreaker map for this, or at least this match day, is going to be mines. And both these 2 teams are getting ready for it. May not have expected to be taken so far, but that's the reality of things here. And of course, Melly, everyone on that Twitch chat must be getting involved here in some of the conversation here. What's the general feel you're getting from these people? How are they taking to this new team of Rusty Rosser?
Well, mixed feelings, pretty much, because I mean they were so far ahead, and they're on the edge of losing, kind of, because DiNG has shown really strong moves, and they look very collected, and well, some of them were still cheering for them, trying to prep talk them, send positive energy towards Rusty Rosser, but most of them kind of gave up already, so...
Oh, that's a shame.
No, it really is.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is the thing. We already said this once, but I'll say it again. I mean, we said in 754, if you have one bad map, game over, right? Like, we saw the top team saying that the map picks in 754 is almost the most important part of the whole discussion, which maps you ban, which maps you picked, what order you do it in. It was super important because you had 4 rounds out of potential 5 rounds on it. Now you get to go on so many different maps. we're seeing, these games getting very close. 5-3 was the least close game we've had so far today.
Absolutely, and that's saying something, of course, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we go towards our second tiebreaker of the day, it's going to be mine. I'm pumped for this one as well. And, I sort of threw it out there. I committed. I said, well, what do you think about Rusty Roster on these open maps now after playing all city maps? And it looks like it could be coincidence, but they seem to struggle a little bit now with some of their execution. I have to hand it to DiNG though as well, because a few moments there, as I see you cast, a couple of head shakes as well, but it looks like that their setup was pretty good. They didn't commit to just one strat and just stick with it. It wasn't anything like that. They worked around it quite nicely, but unfortunately it was DiNG at the end who managed to make the shots, and the execution more than the strategy seemed to be more important for these two teams here. On mines, let's assume that Rusty Roster are playing the same way that they have been in these last few maps. Who do you think's favoured here?
I think DiNG is favoured here. I think on steps, it's a map which does require, I think, a more finesse style of gameplay, a more finite, harder to acquire set of skills. And I think Mines has a lot of those aspects on them. But we got Rusty Roster with the fastest attack, so they're actually going to be moving on to the defensive side. It's a rule keeping from 754, the fastest attack. It's the first parameter you take. If both teams are the same, then it's the most damage done by either team that gets to choose which side they play on the tiebreaker map. As I said, Rusty Roster on the southern side, on the defensive side here in Mines. So it's going to be an interesting one. So far, we've seen all games go to Mines basically today. I think all three of them.
Well, these Mines have been featured.
Yeah, Mines have been featured in all three. And so far, it's been pretty interesting. We've seen everything apart from, we've seen a couple of middle brawls, but we've never seen both teams just go up into that middle area and just brawl it out 100%.
Yeah, we've seen like half sort of middle brawls. One team goes up and then sort of gets beaten and then backs off and ultimately ends up sort of losing the game anyway as a result of those casualties sustained early on. But if, Rusty Roster are going to be coming forward here as well, it'll be interesting to see now if they are going to go up for the hill. They're going to take some heavy tanks, or they're going to try and punch on through. DiNG has the experience edge here from last season as well. They played Mines a lot. Even in the old format, it makes a big difference. Now, things have changed a little bit. Of course, theory crafting being an important part of the game here. DiNG are coming in with something a little bit different here as well. We can see these tank picks, and they're not going for anything heavy at all. Very much a light sort of lineup. Yeah,
3 Batjets, 2 Object 140s, a T62A for that hull down ability of that tier 10 medium tank, and the 251 just because it's the highest damage dealer of those tier 8 light tanks if you're just looking at DPM. Well, in terms of the position it'll be in. So great stuff for them, and more of a standard stuff from Rusty Roster.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say hello for the last time tonight to Mines. Here we go, 4 apiece it is, and this is match point. This is the tiebreaker here. Look at the Batchat, all in their glory. The first tier 10 that I ever got, actually. God, that was a struggle getting there, but it is a beautiful tank. There's a lot of auto-loading potential coming out from these guys as well. The Strike Force is already on the move, but Meritorious is going to get chunked down fairly low, trying to cross here. Not a lot of armor at all to speak of on that Batchat.
Yeah, and he's actually found 3 tanks here, but Polsved just getting taken down pretty low. Those Batchats really struggle in their hold down position, but Polsved falling.
Brilliant stuff here. Diplomat's coming forward, but Sister already taken so low. DiNG have their guns trained in the right directions by the looks of things here. 3 tanks in a row being caught out now. Persista down to a 1-shot. Panachin isn't going to be long for this world either. A lot of DiNG's forces went towards their cap point number 2, and they have so much control over this island. 5 or 6 tanks firing towards this one. Rusty Roster have been devastated.
That's a perfect counter strategy, right? Because a lot of teams send their medium tanks towards that left side. Every team so far, well, a lot of the teams so far on their defensive strategy have sent 3 or 2 tanks there, and DiNG just decide, we're going to go for something quick. Rusty Roster maybe not used to these kind of longer extended matches, weren't prepared for it, weren't ready for it, and they get caught out. And even International having a little play on the hill.
Prosto got the proxy spot there on the hill. You saw he just sort of rolled up. He was never going to roll over the hill there, but he just wanted to light those tanks that were down there. Rulzik is quite low. Health points are very, very even, but DiNG have all their tanks still standing. They've shared that health point so very well. But what are these Batchats doing out towards the side island? They're just starting to move now. 7 seconds left on this cap as well. So, Rusty Roster have to come forward. They have to get these resets, but Hocknick might deny this. He comes towards Liffidus. Figo's forced to do that as well. Prosto has to roll over the top. He has to show himself. He at least gets the reset, but giving up so many of his health points in the meantime. DiNG definitely benefiting from that particular situation. Hocknick gets the 1v1 against Liffidus, and Rusty Roster are sinking.
This is great stuff from DiNG. They're really playing such another level right now against Rusty Roster. Good individual play. Internationals played such a fantastic game right now, and Sojek, don't think he's going to be able to perform as he did on Himmelsdorf on his own versus 6 tanks. 5 tanks from DiNG, and International might just go for that 1 versus 1.
Yeah, the SD1 not exactly as nimble as an RU251, and Sojek now going to have that rubbed in his face. International is going to be the man getting those final shots there as time runs out, and DiNG have given us a very impressive performance here on Mind. It was very close. Rusty Roster showing some real potential there, but DiNG seemed to be too good at the end. I was very impressed with that push towards that Southern Island as well. They have it covered so well.
Yeah, really impressed by that. I mean, full back chat push, catching Rusty Rossa by surprise and managed to take them down. Or clearly, once those tanks had been lost, I think it was game over. It was interesting as well that despite the lighter tanks being in the cap, DiNG held their ground, said, okay, we can stick to our guns. We don't have to rotate back up to a hill because we've got International there, who was just using the 110 penetration of that 251's heat ammunition, which can slice through the back of even tier 10 tanks. But unless I'm mistaken, DiNG either won or lost a tiebreaker at the beginning of Season 5. So they're in a very similar position they were last season. I think they might have lost it. I think they lost it last time, so I think they've got a little bit more confidence going forwards. But again, they probably should have got the 3 points against Rusty Roster, but,
Well, now we have our results for match day number 3. It's been 3 very, very, very interesting games for you guys, and I think it's a great way to showcase the format a little bit as well. I mean, we've got 12 games this week as well, so there's going to be no shortage of those ones here. These are today's results, of course. Knuckleprod over Penta Sports, and I'm going to keep butchering that name as long as I have to. Then out of range as well, with a very, very close one up against Synergy, and of course the tiebreaker was DiNG over Rusty Roster.
Yeah, so 3 fantastic games. My favorite one was probably the second one. I thought that showed us some really great stuff. But overall, really impressed by the format. I mean, a lot of people said to me, okay, 768 is going to be slower than 754. So far, that's not been true. It's been more interesting for sure. So I'm loving it so far.
Let's cast our eyes towards, as Oliver is already excited for, tomorrow's matches. Oliver, what's standing out to you about these ones?
Well, Tornado Rocks, a beast of a team with Lucy Kell and Didal, the 2 main men, the 2 front men of Hellraisers now joining in. This is a dream team. This is a Russian dream team. You can ignore your Navis, you can ignore every other team. Tornado Rocks, the winners of Continental Rumble, are truly a beast to be reckoned with. Oops has got a really tough first match for sure. Kazaku Utopia, I mean, Kazna struggled in Season 1 a lot more than they should have done. Let's hope they've got their act together and be able to beat Utopia Wombat, 2nd place at Continental Rumble, 1st place in the Season 1 finals. I think another powerhouse that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And
a shout out to them as well for taking an Australian animal as their emblem. I approve, definitely. Well,
I think you have giraffes in Africa as well, don't you?
Yeah, wombats.
Oh, wombats
are Aussie.
Okay, fair enough. I was looking at giraffes, man. It's the top. It's the 2 animals in that.
We don't have giraffes in Australia at all, actually.
Don't you?
No, because they're predated by kangaroos, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
Well, we're about to finish things up here, of course, ladies and gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us tonight. Do, of course, check out things on our YouTube channel, /WGLEU. We're going to be back here tomorrow at the same time. It's going to be 7 p.m. Thank you guys, of course, on behalf of all of us. So, Melly, before we finish for the night, some closing words from you as well. Some very exciting games here.
Absolutely, and people love the new format, and it's really promising for the whole season. We saw 2 fresh teams stepping it up, and I really can't wait for the next match days.
Well, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. We're going to be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. It's time to kick off this season in even more style than tonight. We'll see you soon, guys. Good night.